Social and emotional learning. Anything is possible. Melody Day convinced her school to build a playground that all kids can use. As you read, is there a place in your community that should be more inclusive? Last year, Melody Day entered the playground at Heritage Elementary School in Wentzville, Missouri. 6 big musical instruments had just been installed, and the 6th grader couldn't help crying tears of joy. The playground is called the Melody Garden, and it's the result of 2 years of Melody's hard work. She helped build a place where all kids can play. That includes kids like her who use wheelchairs. I just want all kids to be happy, she says. Left out. Melody came up with her plan 2 years ago. The playground at Heritage Elementary wasn't accessible to her. Melody couldn't use any of the equipment. She couldn't even roll her wheelchair through the gravel to get onto the playground. So during recess, Melody's friends would chat with her for a bit, then they'd run off to the swings or monkey bars. That left Melody all alone. I just watched them go and play, Melody recalls. I would think to myself, why am I just sitting here? Melody decided to look beyond the barriers. She saw an opportunity. She would help her school build a more inclusive playground. No kid would be left out because of a disability. Challenge accepted. Getting a new playground built wasn't going to be easy, but Melody has never let a challenge stop her. She was born with a condition called cerebral palsy, CP. Many people with CP find it hard to control their muscles. I have trouble getting in and out of my wheelchair, Melody explains. But she didn't want to change things only for kids with CP. People in wheelchairs aren't the only ones who have disabilities, she says. Fair play. Melody presented her idea for a new playground to her principal, who loved it. But the school didn't have the money to pay for it. Melody didn't give up. She started a GoFundMe page online where people donated money. Her classmates donated their allowances and held fundraisers. It took 2 years, but Melody's dream finally became a reality. To Melody and others, the playground is a place that lets them know they belong. Melody is helping plan a more inclusive playground for younger students, and she won't stop there. Just because I have a wheelchair doesn't mean I can't make a difference, Melody says. What Melody wants you to know. You don't have to go with the crowd and be like others. Be yourself, no matter who you are. Don't judge people by their disability. Get to know them. You never know what you might have in common. If you want to make a difference, don't let your disability stop you. It doesn't define you. Welcome to the Melody Garden. The playground at Melody's school has fun new ways to play and hang out. Here are just a few. This bench is perfect for kids to chat with a friend in a wheelchair. And no more gravel makes rolling a wheelchair easier. A sign with Melody's picture greets people at the playground. Melody and her friends can play this giant xylophone during recess. See these bright flowers? Kids used the attached sticks to play music on the pedals. Big debate. Buried treasure. Finders keepers? For more than 3 years, Robert Pritchett and his crew searched the waters off the coast of Cape Canaveral, Florida. Finally, in May 2016, Pritchett found what he had been hunting for. It was the shipwreck of a vessel called La Trinité. The ship had set sail from France more than 450 years earlier. At the time, France had a colony in Florida. The ship was sent to protect that colony. After reaching America, La Trinité sank in a storm in 1565. Pritchett found 3 bronze cannons and other artifacts in the wreckage, but he didn't get to keep anything. By law, sunken ships belong to the country that sent them, even centuries later. A Florida court said that the ship belonged to France, not Pritchett. The decision raised an old debate. Should treasure hunters be allowed to keep what they find? No! Many experts argue that shipwrecks and their artifacts belong in museums, not in the collections of treasure hunters. After all, such items hold information that can help us understand history, says archaeologist James Delgado. Archaeologists like Delgado think sunken treasure should be turned over to them so they can study the artifacts. Many say that treasure hunters are just after coins or jewels that they can sell to become rich. The value is not in how much money you can sell something for, it's the value of the stories it can tell, Delgado says. It allows us to connect to the people who came before us. Some archaeologists worry that treasure hunters might destroy old shipwrecks. Delgado says that important relics, like bones, get tossed away because they're not considered valuable by the treasure hunters. Focusing on how much you can make is very different than how much you can learn, Delgado says. Yes! People who hunt for sunken ships say they deserve to keep some of the treasure they find. They point out that they spend years locating a wreck, which isn't easy. Ships break apart as they sink to the seafloor, and remains get buried in sand. Pritchett and other hunters also spend a lot of money on their missions. They use special technology to find buried metal and to blow sand off the seafloor to uncover items. Pritchett says he spent about $4 million to find La Trinité. He thinks he should be allowed to keep some artifacts or at least get paid for them. Experts estimate that less than 1% of the world's wrecks have been explored. Treasure hunters argue that if they didn't look for the wrecks, these pieces of history might be lost forever. Jason Lundock is an archaeologist. He works with a company that searches for wrecks. He thinks there are ways to compromise. For example, treasure hunters in some countries are paid a finder's fee for their discoveries. 3 million. That's the estimated number of shipwrecks spread across the world's oceans. About 250,000. That many artifacts from one wreck were destroyed in 2004. Treasure hunters didn't think they were valuable. My story. I'm a bee's best friend. Third grader Elizabeth Downs explains how she helps honeybees in her Maine community. Do you have a hobby that you love? Mine is beekeeping. I take care of 150,000 honeybees. I first got interested in bees while working in my family's garden. I learned that bees are responsible for pollinating many plants, like berries and veggies. Bees spread pollen from flower to flower while they look for nectar to eat. Pollination helps plants make seeds so they can grow new plants. I got some bees as a gift, and adult helpers taught me what to do. Soon, I was caring for 5 hive boxes. Once every 2 weeks, I check them to make sure the hives are healthy. To keep from getting stung, I wear a jacket with a hood and a screen over my face. I wear gloves and long pants too. It doesn't always work. I've been stung more times than I can count. In the late summer and early fall, I collect honey. Honeybees make honey out of nectar. They save honey in the hive so they have something to eat in winter. But they usually make a lot extra. I bottle the extra honey from my hives and share it. It's really good. Someday, I want to start a bee school to teach people how they can help these pollinators. One thing people can do is to be careful about the chemicals they use in their gardens or yards. Some are dangerous for bees. And bees are important. Life Science. Getting a lift home. A giant tortoise named Diego recently went back to the wild. He was born on Hispaniola, one of the Galapagos Islands in the Pacific Ocean. In the 1930s, Diego was taken to live in a zoo in California. By 1970, only 14 tortoises like Diego were left in the wild. To save the species, scientists started a breeding program on an island close to Hispaniola. They brought Diego there to help. The program was a success, and the population of Hispaniola tortoises is now about 2,000. Last June, the grateful scientists returned Diego to Hispaniola. Once there, a park ranger carried him with a special backpack 1.5 miles to his native habitat. After 87 years, Diego was back home. Map it out. The Galapagos Islands are west of which continent? Picture this. This art is trash. Don't worry, this shark won't attack. In fact, it may even save lives. Each year, 8 million tons of plastic trash winds up in the world's oceans. It harms fish and other creatures. A group called Washed Ashore builds sculptures like this one to raise awareness about ocean pollution. Each work of art is made of trash that washes up on beaches. So far, Washed Ashore has collected more than 25 tons of trash.